Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's special meeting. Thank you all for attending this meeting on this fine but warm evening. It looks a bit stormy. So let's get straight into the agenda. It's quite a short agenda, but quite focused. Hopefully we can make a go of this. So if we start off with the apologies for absence.
Yes, I've had apologies from Sarah Keaton, Miles Langston, Pip Reason and Will Thomas.
Okay, thank you for that. Any declarations of interest? No. So if we get on to the main event for this evening, the committee restructure. So just to give people maybe who might not be aware, because this has been going on for quite some time, just where we are and where we've arranged that. We did have a committee restructure quite some time ago now. And I think we've learned a lot from the committee restructure, I really do. But I do think that some other things have become apparent as time has gone on. And it was brought up by a number of councillors and by staff as well, that maybe the amount of committees that we had and the amount of servicing for committees were quite onerous on us as a council and on our staff as well. So I think it's always good anyway to review committees and structures at times, even if, you know, at the review you decide to not change anything, to keep everything the same. So we commissioned One Voice Wales through the organisation who provide advice for community councils in Wales. And we asked Paul Egan, commissioned Paul Egan to do us a report on our community structure. And what Paul provided us with, and the beauty is of Paul, obviously, is he is aware of the committee structures for all community councils throughout Wales. And really what he provided us with was quite a radical alternative, really. Quite a radical alternative, but at the same time, in his report, he very much said, particularly in the conclusion, that he was giving us this report as this is what other councils do, but this is a discussion document for you to consider as a council. So we've circulated it to all the different committees and all the different groups, and given people the opportunity to feedback on this report. And generally, the feeling that I felt came back was that there wasn't much of an appetite for a complete and utter revolution in the change of community structures, but maybe there was an appetite, particularly in streamlining, reducing the amount of committees that we had, and reducing the workload of those different committees, and maybe trying to attempt to address at times where people felt that there was overlap of committee structures. So particularly for the past week or so, myself and Steve have tried to distill the feedback that we've had from the different committees and from the different people, and everybody, I hope, feels that they've had an opportunity to feedback on this report. And from that, myself and Steve have tried to distill a synthesis, if you like, from the different comments, but also to incorporate some of the observations that came from Paul Egan's report. So this is where we are today, and we're bringing this to council now. Now, as far as I see this, we've got three options on the table in front of us today. Either we stay exactly as we are, or we go down the road of, if you like, the Paul Egan sort of model, which is a complete and utter restructure, or we adopt the committee proposal, the chair's clerk's proposal that has been circulated to you in the documents that you've had already. Now, depending on what the decision is here this evening, obviously that will have implications for the terms of reference for the different committees, and probably some tweaks and changes to the standing orders as well, so that the terms of reference and the standing orders agree with our committee structures. Now, before we enter into discussion, one of the things that I feel I've tried to do in the discussion, or myself and Steve have tried to do in synthesizing these different discussions, is try and look at how we can distribute the responsibilities through all the different committees and structures. And as we enter into discussion, I would ask councillors to consider, when they hear people's different discussions, and that's not precluding any particular person's point of view, but the old Latin phrase, qui bono, who benefits? Is this a benefit to a particular committee? Is this benefit to a particular grouping? Is this a benefit to the council as a whole? So these are the critical approach I'd like you to take when we think about how we go about restructuring these committees, and which particular role that we go down. So I've done my little preamble. I will open it up to the floor if anybody got particular observations and points of view. Richard?
Yeah, I've already expressed my views anyway. Now, I'm not in favor. Well, first of all, what's proposed, the change in committee structures, may be an ideal to aim for. However, the systems we've got at the moment, we know them, they're working, we can always tweak them to get them working better. Now, with elections coming up next year, there'll be change of faces. Some people stand down, some people, obviously not me, won't get re-elected. But why change everything now when there's going to be changes next year? It'd be better to change them next year, I feel. Now, for the two new councillors trying to get on committees, some of the committees are supposedly full. I see no reason for the time being, until next election, we can't get them onto committees, even if the numbers are theoretically full. Again, as you said, evolution, not revolution. A gradual change, I think, could be better. And with all the changes that's going to happen next year, that would be a good time to do it.
So, just for me to clear up, Richard, what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting the evolutionary approach that myself and Steve have suggested, or are you suggesting we stick exactly as we are now?
I could be swayed either way with those, but I think I'm going towards the evolutionary approach. Okay,
thank you very much for that, Richard. Carrie?
I'd like to start actually by saying well done to Martin and Steve, because I think you've actually done an extremely good job. Ooh. I think these are 4 committees that I think we could work with really well. I think they cover everything, which is always important. Obviously there will always be little bits of leakage between committees, but that's absolutely fine. That as long as one committee knows that they're the one who's leading on it, then that's not a problem. So I personally, having been sort of not quite sure how we go about it, and thinking actually, it with some small tweaks, we could probably stick with what we've got. I think actually this is a very good way forward. Just to respond to Richard, I suppose I'm sort of the opposite viewpoint. I think if there's going to be new people coming in next year, the last thing they want to be doing is having to look at completely reorganizing the committees. I would think it's far better that we have good, well-planned, established committees now, so that when the elections come next year and we maybe have some changes, that people can just slot seamlessly into a system that's already there. They may want to review it further down the line, but at least it gives them the chance to get in, get started, and get working straight away. So I'm all for them. There's just a couple of observations that I would like to think maybe we could look at in line with them. One of them is I think there's a lot to be said for some of the recommendations and things that Paul Egan has said regarding the requirement for full council to meet as frequently as it does. I would like to see these committees having a lot more teeth, having delegated budgets. You know, we all sit there and we agree a budget in January for all the committees. Once that budget's agreed by full council, those committees should be able to just go off and get on with it, and only have to come back to full council if they actually want to change anything in the agreed budget. So I would like to see much more delegated power to the committees, which would mean, as you know, that we can just maybe reduce full council to every 2 months, or maybe even less, when there's something actually that is outside the committees that we need to make decisions on. To kind of, I suppose, make sure that people don't feel that individual committees have too much power that they don't have any say in. I would like to suggest that included in that is we increase the membership of each of those committees to 10, so that there's, you know, we can be confident that more than half of the councillors have an opportunity to be involved in each of the committees, and that we should perhaps look at an approval on recommendations on resolutions of perhaps a minimum of 6 in each committee, just to make sure that as we are possibly dealing with quite large sums of money, that there's a reasonable number of people who have supported and approved that resolution. And I sort of decided on 6 because that's the minimum quorum for full council, so it kind of links in with it that way.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
To be
there you
fair then,
go.
Carrie,
Rebecca,
yeah,
go on.
I sort of agree with most of what Carrie's saying there. I agree, coming on from Richard, that the changes suggested are good and they should be done not all in one lump, because it'll create a horrible mess for us, you know, and again, it's extra work when the new members come in to join the committees. But yeah, as for increasing the size of committees, shouldn't we use odd numbers so that you don't get a 50-50 split? So you can say for certain, like 7 rather than 6.
There's always the chairs casting votes.
There is the
Yeah.
chairs to make up to the 7. As for, yeah,
To be
I
honest,
suppose so. But
Rebecca,
I'm a bit worried about runaway committees without reports, Martin. Spending. The
can I
spending
just
should be fed
go-
back.
Rebecca, can I just close that discussion down a bit, because I really
Okay.
think we're
It's
getting
hot
into
discussion,
minutiae now, and I think
Yeah.
that's almost like a discussion for another time. The amount of people on
Yes.
committees and sort of stuff like that. What I really want to try and focus now, really, on the structures. Could I bring Rebecca Child in, and then Rob Marshall, and then Ian, please, Rebecca Child?
Oh yeah, so I do like the Chair Clerk proposal, but I'd like to understand better how it's different from the current committee structure, because they've got the same title, so I didn't understand how it would be that different. And then if it is different, I'd like not to just be added onto a committee, but to actually be able to vote on the chair and vice chair, because if it is different, then it doesn't make sense to just be added on.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The whole sort of point with this, Rebecca, is although we've, as I sort of said, I don't know if you missed that right at the very beginning, try to adopt an evolutionary rather than a revolutionary style. So to keep some of the functions and titles of the old committees, so it's not completely and utterly different. But then again, at the same time, these committees are very different in as much as the structures, you know, what different committees are responsible for are very different. And just by the fact that we've lost 2 full committees, for instance. And also, my feeling is on this, that if we're going to go down this route of this evolutionary route, they are new committees, and therefore we have new elections to the people to these committees. So it's not a case of you just being added on, it's a whole new start again. So if I bring Rob, sorry.
Yeah, that answers everything. Thank you, Martin.
No problem. Rob and then Ian.
Okay, thanks, Mart. I was one of the people who voted in favour of engaging Paul Egan to do this report. What I thought it was going to be when I voted for this was a look at how we could better organise our existing committees because of the overlaps, rather than a total restructure. Now, in Paul's report, he's got 4 committees there, which don't really mean anything to me. So if they don't mean anything to me as a councillor, then, and I can't identify with them, then the public aren't going to identify with them either. You know, we have what it says on the tin at the moment: environmental is environmental, culture and tourism is cultural and tourism, and the same with economic and with the community as well. I think, you know, when we look at the comparisons of the towns that Paul did it with, he did it of towns throughout Wales which were of a similar size to Mumbles. But what he actually did, if we're sort of approaching 15,000, he did from 11,000 to 22,000, sorry. But I think he missed a trick, because, you know, Mumbles is a pretty unique place, and the places he's compared us with were Bridgend, Carmarthen, and Newtown, and Penarth. Now, Bridgend, I don't think we have any identification with Bridgend. Carmarthen, why didn't he do Tenby? It's a tourist village by the sea. And for Newtown, why didn't he do Aberystwyth, which is a tourist village by the sea, with a university as well, like Swansea is, you know? So I think what he's done is he's actually missed opportunities of comparing for what we stand for. Now, a lot of these places he has compared with are actual towns in their own right, with town councils and civic buildings. We don't even have a building of our own yet, you know, we're struggling for office space at the moment. So really, I would say that I'm in total favour of your approach to this, and your and Steve's reorganisation of what we've already got so that it fits. I don't think, and I agree, this is where I agree with Carrie, I don't think we need to go down the road of looking at a radical change down the road next year or something like that. We need something that we can work with, which we can identify with, and that the public can identify with us as well. So I'm going to give my full support to your proposal, your and Steve's proposal for this.
Thank you for that, Rob. Ian?
Yes, thank you, Chair. A couple of things have been mentioned so far, one of which came from Carrie with regards to delegated powers to a committee. I think that would be dreadful. It's very important that all councillors have an opportunity to express their views. On a whole, you've only got to look at those new committees that you've put together, and for example, the number of topics that's gone on to the environmental committee. So I'm not happy about this delegated power. You know, you'll end up with you know, a group of like-minded councillors who can make a rather I don't know, a decision which you know, a lot of people wouldn't be happy about, and myself included in that. The other thing is numbers. You know, what is going to be the numbers on these committees to try and, shall we say, challenge that situation where you get a group of like-minded councillors coming together and pushing things through. And the other thing is, of course, the selection process. You know, how are you going to arrive at that? You know, in the past, it's been a bit of a lottery. You put down a number. Do you want to come in, Martin?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm thoroughly agreeing with everything you say. And to be honest, you know, one of the things, I go back to this keep Warnall thing I said right at the very beginning, is this is one of the things I've had in my mind all the way through with putting this together. And, you know, I've looked at the way that other councils have done it, not just in Wales, but elsewhere. And I very much agree that what we need to try to avoid is particular groupings getting, you know, a particular control of a particular committee or whatever. And if we adopt this, I think it will be beholden on Steve and myself or whoever else works on this, and I do think that we can do this, to look at the way that committees are elected and to look at the way chairs are elected. And, you know, I did put this in a discussion document that we had at the last full council to try to avoid that. I'm not saying that we can avoid it at all times, but, you know, I do think that we need to think of structures. You know, one of the things I think I've made abundantly clear in this is I am very keen that, whatever my own political persuasion, but I am very keen that the committees and the council in general reflects the political makeup of the council. And I think that we are beholden as a council to ensure that.
Yes, okay, if I can just carry on, thank you, Chair.
Sorry.
Yes, I was just mentioning the fact about the selection process. And of course, the other thing with regards to the makeup of a committee, the political side of it, which you've just touched on. And I think these days we have to also consider the gender side and how one is going to appoint chairs or vice chairs. All those are areas, in my view, that are particularly important. Whether we should go down the road of a real radical change of committees, I really don't know what that's actually going to achieve. And we wouldn't know until it was actually done, tried and tested. But there's no doubt about it. There have been problems on certain committees, and it's I really don't think it's necessary to have those problems and those issues. You know, we should be all moving in the same direction within reason. But of course, if you challenge something, you know, that's where everything goes awry. It's as if you're not supposed to challenge, as if you're not supposed to mention these things. So that's my position at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. The other thing was you didn't mention the change of committees. You alluded to not mention the benefit of the residents who pay the precept.
Well, to be honest, you know, one of the things which is, you know, we've talked about some of the discussion things, and I have talked about this, is the need to get more people co-opted onto the council, and particularly if we develop, you know, personally, I'm quite a big fan of working groups, and like, you know, just today, to be honest, I've been talking to Dennis, I'm sure a lot of you know him from Ripples, who is, you know, very keen to get involved in a number of initiatives and very keen to work with us. And I think, you know, to be honest, on initiatives like the Underhill Working Group, you know, already people have raised points there about how we could, you know, act as a conduit to get in more resident representation, say, on the steering group for Mumbles Community Association. So, you know, yes, you know, I very much take on board all those points, and I think these are the things I want to say. But just on another point, something I noticed, and this is specific to you, Ian, but something I noticed, and I just want to reassure you, I haven't forgotten it, but I just noticed on the form that we've sent round that we've mentioned a couple of other committees, which, and planning isn't on there, but we're very much intending, because planning, I think, was something that we found from last time that dropped off the map, as it was, and it's, you know, a very important committee, I think, as we've seen. So, Louise?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and obviously I've come in the same time as Rebecca, and it's been a bit late in the day, I suppose, to be on any committee. I do agree with Richard. I think it would be better to leave it the way it is at the moment, because it's only a few months, and then obviously into the new year, elections are going to be here before you know it. So that is my input, you know, and obviously we'll see what happens going forward. I just don't think it needs to be changed at this late date. I would like to see, though, obviously, if we get re-elected, a chair for each committee, a different chair, not the same chair, not the same people in that group. I think that would make such a difference because it brings a multitude of experience, not just from one side. So that's what I would like to put forward. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah, well, as I sort of said, all these issues, we're going to have to think about those. That's the minutiae really about going forward, about, you know, how chairs are elected, how many people are on the different committees. You know, we started to do some work on that beforehand, but we thought it was very, you know, we could have spent loads and loads of time doing that and discussing that tonight. And then it all depends what we decide tonight about what the terms of reference will be. Rebecca, did you want to come in? Rebecca Fogarty, sorry.
No, sorry, I'd misunderstood what Louise was saying. I'm just wholly in support of your and Steve's proposal. I think it's excellent. So I won't say any more.
Thank you very much. So shall I just put it to the vote then? I think is all those in favour of the clerks and chairs.
I think Richard wants to come in. Sorry, Martin.
Oh, sorry.
So to clarify then, option 1 is to change everything to what Paul Egan suggests.
Yeah.
Option 2 is to keep it as it is, full stop.
Yeah.
And option 3 is keep it as it is, but through evolution, tweak things and change things.
Yes.
Hopefully for the better.
That's exactly it.
So which one is the proposal sent out for the clerk and chair? Is that option 3?
That's option 3.
Right.
Right.
That's what I was just wanting to check as well, because you know it is evolution, but it's a very clear
Change. Yeah.
structure, and you know I would like to think we are voting on that option.
So option 1 is Paul Egan, all change. Option 2, we stay exactly as we are. And option 3 is evolution, not revolution. Okay?
Okay.
So shall I go? Ian, did you want to come in, sorry?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, you talk about this evolution and not revolution. There are some pretty big changes here. You've already said that we'll be losing a couple of committees. And at what point are the chairs going to be decided and the vice chairs? And is there going to be room for further discussion on this?
Yes.
You know, I don't want to vote for something that I don't have an input into later on.
Right.
I'd rather it stayed as they were until we're in a better place to decide where we're actually going here.
Okay, what we're proposing is, say if we adopted option 3 here, that people now, between now and say the meeting in September, the meeting the first week in September, people can put their names forward of what committees they want to sit on. Okay. From there, we will look at the people who put their names forward for different committees, and people who are interested in standing as chairs of those committees. In the intervening period of time, myself and Steve will look at the sort of standing orders, look at what tweaks are required, to look at the way that chairs are elected, and the makeup of the committee structure, and that will be something that we decide in September. So as I sort of said, could sort of done a lot of this beforehand, but you know, we wanted to know which way the vote was going to go before we sort of came to all these conclusions. Does that answer your question, Ian?
Well, it's very helpful, Chair. Yes, but I would add there are a considerable number of councillors missing tonight.
That's up to them.
But we are quorate.
Their choice.
That's up to them.
If they knew what was up,
I don't think that's a reasoned answer, saying we're quorate. You know, that's you know, unless we're in a position to say, well, why are they missing? Is it because they're on holiday and they've got every right to be on holiday? You know, why are we making this decision now? You know, one of the ones that wanted to instigate the changes on committees was Councillor Bull, and he's not here.
Never is.
Well, there's no need for that, thank you. I can put my own words in without you jumping in.
Okay.
And there's Miles Langston. He's not here. Will Thomas isn't here. You know, you've already gone through it. Sarah Keaton, and who else was there? Pip Reason. So you know, again, in all credit to the Labour councillors, they've certainly got a majority here. So
we have a majority anyway.
Rebecca, please, can you wait to talk?
Sorry,
I'm sorry. Can I finish without you interrupting?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm just making a point that there are a number of councillors missing, and I'm not saying that if those councillors were all here, that the vote would be any different. I'm just making the point.
Okay, Ian, and
thank you.
The point has been made. Thank you very much. I don't really want to go round and round on this, but like I'll let everybody speak to the different things. So if I bring Carrie in first, and then Louise.
Just very quick. I just want to confirm that, you know, it won't be just you know, having it voted for this or whatever, that then, you know, nothing further is done. You know, I think I would like to see discussions about numbers of representations, about delegation. I think that all needs to be something that we all have the opportunity to input into, rather than just it being presented at the next meeting and you take it or leave it.
Very much so, Carrie. That's exactly what I'm proposing. That's exactly
great. Thanks, Martin.
Louise?
Yeah, can we hold off the vote, please, until we can get full council? Because I do have to agree with Ian. You know, this is a big decision. I do think that the whole of the council should be informed, even if they can maybe do a vote via email, or, you know, if we can do it that way. I'm sure that, you know, we live in a modern world. I'm sure we've got other ways that we can do this. I just think it's fair that we you know, we consult everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Louise. Pam?
The point is that everybody has been consulted. Everybody had a chance to put what they wanted to do in writing, and everybody had a chance to be here this evening. We could just, perhaps lots of other people couldn't turn up next. If we do this, then we're not going to get anywhere. The one thing I'm really... That's
why, sorry, Pam, to interrupt you, but that's why I said about email.
Excuse me, I'm speaking.
Please, Louise,
the other thing that I'm really worried about is that we have two councillors who've been here since May, who haven't been able to vote or contribute, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. So we need to get a move on. So these people are in September and they work properly. I think it's ridiculous that they haven't been able to contribute properly to the system. Everybody had a chance to contribute, and everybody had a chance to be here tonight.
Okay, Pam, thank you. Richard?
I don't see this as party political at all. I didn't know who else was turning up. I had not received any messages about who's going to turn up, just that I was able to. Now, as Pam says, the two new councillors, we've got to get them involved in committees as soon as possible. They've been here more than long enough. I was on committees far sooner when I was elected. And I think it's right to hold the vote tonight.
Okay.
And to clarify, any changes will be with discussion and gradual. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Rob?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Just to say, look, we make big decisions all the time, and not everybody's always here. If we did that and we were waiting for people all the time, we'd be waiting forever. I think people knew the meeting was today. Those of us who have made it are able to vote. We are quorate, so therefore, you know, we can make the decision.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Louise, did you want to come back in? No, okay. Okay, I would just sort of say on that, you know, taking my hat off a chair for the 5 minutes I was supposed to, is that, like, this has been ongoing really since last March. And, you know, I, for one, have been pushing Steve a bit on this because I'm really keen to get this out the door, really. We've commissioned this report. We've got to do something with it. If we leave it, we're not going to be meeting in August. We'll be going into September then. There'll be no point in implementing any of it then, if you ask me. And all the everybody's had the opportunity to comment on it. People knew it was on the agenda today. And personally, I can't see any reason why we can't make a decision on it. And as I sort of said, this is about changing things. Yes, that there are changes, but it's not a massive revolutionary change. The whole ethos of it is to improve representation rather than try to cut off representation from anybody or any different group. And there will be the opportunity in the meetings in September to comment and to have an input into the and into shaping the final form of this. So, you know, as I sort of said, if people got any concerns, hopefully that they can raise it then. So that said, can I, Steve?
To take off my head.
Yeah, just a couple of points, Chair. Just point of information, Louise.
Bring your toys inside.
I did.
Rebecca.
Just me.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, no
Don't
problem.
worry. Don't worry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I just lost my track of thought. Yeah, just regarding the point that Louise raised, unfortunately at the moment we're limited by a 1972 Act that on our meetings. So I'm sure things like remote voting will come in, but at the moment, unfortunately, that's not an option. The second thing is, unless Louise withdraws it, you should, Chair, vote on a motion to defer it to the next meeting of council first before you look at the substantive stuff.
Okay, so do you want to keep that motion, Louise? Okay, then. So can I put it to council then? The motion is that we defer this vote to the meeting in September. All those in favour? Anybody in favour? No.
Just put a hand up. Ian.
Ian and Louise, is it? Okay. So the next option then that we're voting on, the option of
Chair, sorry, could I just help you out? From the discussion, I think it's perfectly reasonable for you to ask for a vote on option 3 first.
Okay.
Bearing in mind what's been discussed.
Yeah. So all those in favour of option 3, which is the clerk's and chair's recommendations, all those in favour? Okay. So I think that's carried, Steve.
It is, Chair, yeah.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you for your discussion. Thank you for your input, everybody. That's greatly appreciated.
Martin, can I ask something?
Certainly.
If we finished.
Well, we finished on that topic, yeah.
When we put down, when the clerk sends out, are you going to attend this meeting? It's either accept, tentative, or refuse.
Yeah.
I don't know because the family's back and forth. So if we put in a tentative, does that count as an apology if we don't turn up?
I don't think so. I think you've got to give a formal apology. Is that correct, Stephen?
It is, Chair, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, I thought you'd finished. Thank you very much.
As I should have said. So, great. Moving on, cracking on. So the next item on the agenda is August meeting of council. Now, this was in Paul Egan's report suggestion, and it is also a suggestion that's come from a number of other councillors that we consider either to hold or not to hold a meeting in August, because many other councils do not hold a meeting in August. Anybody got any points of view on this? Pam?
If we're not holding full council in August, why are we holding committee meetings in August?
Steve, can you help me out with this, or Rebecca?
Well, my understanding, Chair, is that economic and cultural have already decided not to hold meetings.
Yeah, that's up to the chairs of the committee, I would have said.
Yeah.
can I just say that we are holding Mumfest meetings throughout August, because obviously the event is in September. So that part of is going on. As for full council, I mean, look, Welsh Government, National Government in Westminster, and Swansea City Council all have August as a holiday month. They get paid for doing it. We don't. So why are we having meetings in August?
Yeah. Ian?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for mentioning that, Rob. Perhaps I could ask you, does your committee have delegated power?
We have delegated power, yeah.
The situation with the economic, there was no delegated power with the economic. There was no point in having a meeting. If we had decided something, it couldn't have been ratified, because there wasn't going to be a full council meeting in August. So that's why it was cancelled. There was nothing particularly pressing at the time. I did check with the RFO. There's still some outstanding matters from City, but that's why it was done. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Ian. Rebecca Fogarty?
Thanks, Martin. So my understanding is that we're not just voting on this August, we're voting in general, should we have meetings in August.
Well,
and is that right, Martin?
Well, I'm not sure about that, because the thing is, we as this council will not be here next August.
Well, I mean, I suppose we could be voting to change our standing orders. I mean, I personally don't want to see this come up on an agenda every July.
Yeah.
So I would be very happy if we do vote to change standing orders.
Yeah.
And my reason is, as we've seen in the past, if something particularly pressing comes up, like we are in this evening, we call a special meeting.
Exactly.
And I think you're spot on in terms of committee business. Committee chairs can make that judgment call on whether it is appropriate or necessary for committees to meet over the summer. I think it's, yeah, like Rob said, quite important that actually when you become a community councillor, that there is a kind of baked in expectation that you can draw boundaries. And one of the signals that we can send that there are boundaries around this role is having a holiday like everybody else. Yeah, I think that we also see very high rates of absence in August, so makes sense to me.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Richard iPad, as you called.
Yeah. Although I can attend meetings in August, no problem, because I don't go away in August because I'm permanently on holiday in Mumbles. However, I appreciate the majority, they don't want meetings in August, which I think that there's best way forward. And as Rebecca said, if we need a meeting for anything, we can call a special meeting, as you've done for tonight. And like the Mumfest, if they need to keep meetings going, people can. But otherwise, let's follow the example, not of Westminster, but of the Senedd, and not have a meeting in August.
Okay, Carrie?
Yeah, just basically to reiterate what Rebecca said, you know, can we actually make this a vote to actually change standing orders to say there will be no full council meeting in August? So as you say, we don't have to worry about, you know, every July or AGM or whatever having to decide if we're going to have one or not. So let's just make the decision, as everyone else said, if there's something urgent comes up, we hold a special meeting. It's fine.
Yeah. I very much echo that, and echo what Rebecca said as well. Is I very much sort of think this we can, especially in this day and age, we can call emergency meetings quite quickly.
Yeah.
If anything sort of comes up, we can call subcommittees or working groups together so that we can react to everything. I'm just not 100% sure where we are in relation to changing the standing orders, because that's not what's on the agenda. Steve, can you advise? But saying that, we are going to have some thought about tweaking a couple of the standing orders pretty soon, so we could vote for it this time and then maybe vote for it at the next meeting about making it a permanent feature. Steve, can you advise?
Yeah, I if a decision reflects standing orders, I can't see why you can't make an amendment to it. So you could make an amendment.
We can make an amendment now, is there?
Yeah, it was quite clear what was up for discussion, wasn't it? whether
Yeah.
the council meet in August or not. So
Okay, then, so all those in favour of not meeting in August, can you indicate, please? That's unanimous. Right, and then the next point then is to consider whether to reconvene the adjourned annual meeting on Tuesday, the 7th of September. This will be the opportunity to talk about the minutiae of this restructure that we're talking about.
Okay,
Rebecca, are we voting on it? I don't know what's going on, you know?
No, I just have a question.
Oh, sorry. Rebecca, have you got a question?
Yeah, my question is just for the record, is this the absolute earliest possible date that we think is feasible to have a meeting of this importance? Because bearing in mind everything that's just been said about having two councillors who are not fully involved yet, I'm sure you've looked at calendars, Martin and Steve, but I just want to ask the question, is it absolutely the earliest possible date?
I got to admit, I'll defer to Steve here because he was the one looking at the calendars.
wouldn't, if we met earlier, would that not be in August?
Yeah.
yeah,
It would be an AGM though, not a monthly meeting.
Well,
It would be an annual meeting, yeah.
it's fine.
Does it have to be a Tuesday, I suppose? I mean,
well,
yeah, I suppose as long as it means that people are in position before committee meetings for
Yeah.
September can get off the ground.
that's what I mean, be in a position, and also, you know, it will be a case of people being able to put their names forward and maybe get up to speed of what the different committees do. And also, I think there will be some opportunity in circulating. I've been doing some work with Steve about drawing up some, you know, templates for terms of reference. So, you know, there would be an opportunity to sort of get involved, like, and all that. Carrie?
Yeah, just to say, I mean, it's, you know, we don't want this to then have to drag on to another meeting. You know, can we be confident that at the AGM, the new committees will be elected, they will be able to start work straight away in September, and, you know, that decisions are made on how the chairs and the vice chairs. So all of that will basically need to take place prior to the 7th of September. So can we be sure that all of that work is done so that
Yeah.
our new councillors and everybody else can actually just go
I'll-
straight in September and get working?
To be honest, Carrie, a lot of that work has already been done.
Good.
But whether, you know, we can go straight on from the meeting in September, well, that depends on councillors.
Yeah, but you know, all the selections and options will be sent out in advance so that, you know, at the AGM, everyone has at least put forward their preferences for the new committees.
Yeah, well, exactly what I'm saying now. You know
Yeah.
what it's like sometimes getting response from councillors. That's just the point I'm making. But from our side, I'm very confident because we've already done a lot
Okay.
of that work.
Okay,
Right, that's good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Louise, sorry?
Yeah, to be absolutely honest, I've been pretty busy in my area, but I don't have a platform to actually explain what I've been doing in my area. And I think that's a real shame for Mumbles Council, because we've been inundated with residents' calls on the male cycle path. We've got the skateboard park, we've got the bridge going over Black Pill, we've got flooding down the bottom of Black Pill. None of it is ever mentioned in my area. And I just find I'm completely and utterly excluded. So I was just wondering whether or not any of that's ever going to be brought up.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Louise.
It's okay, it's not a problem at all.
Have you been in contact with Claire about any of this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, can we talk maybe separately about this? You know, I'll contact you maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I do think it should be on the agenda. You know, we've got national press dealing with the male cycle path, and it's never brought up in Mumbles Council. It's not even on the radar. And
Yeah.
that is actually really bad. My residents have noticed it. So I
Yeah.
just thought that would be quite important, really. Thanks, Martin.
Okay, no problem. Carrie?
Yeah, just, I mean, obviously, if it's not, if those aren't put forward to Steve to put on the agenda or to Martin, then
Absolutely.
obviously they won't. So
Yeah.
the way to do it is to make sure if you have items that you want to put forward to full council, that you actually make sure that they go through to Steve to get them put on the agenda, because You know, you can't express opinions about things on behalf of the community council until they have been discussed and voted on, and the community council either supported or not supported those things. So, you know, you have to get them on the agenda.
Okay, thank you for that, Carrie. But as I should have said, this is something I'm sure I can discuss with Louise separately from this other meeting. Okay, then. So if that's the case, everybody happy now? Anybody want to talk again? Thank you all. It's nice to see a meeting that we've managed to complete in.
Yeah,
Well,
Martin, did you
hello.
manage to speak with Theo?
Yeah, well, I haven't managed to speak with Theo, but
You
I
know,
have
he
spoken
was-
with Steve today. And again, like as I said to Louise, I will be in contact in the next day or so with you. In
Okay,
relation to
just
that.
in case he
But
comes through to me again, I
Yeah.
can see what's happening. I
But,
just need
you know,
feedback. Because I don't
as
want to
I
say
say-
something and you not know what it is.
No, I did.
You know, these
I got to
things
admit,
get
as I should have said, I got called by Dennis from Ripples today. And if anybody knows Dennis, you know what it's like being
Yes.
called by Dennis. And I
You
don't
just
mind
put
it
it
being
in-
recorded because
Dennis.
Dennis would thoroughly sympathise with what I'm saying. Pam,
No, I'm just putting my hand up to speak when you're finished.
well, go ahead, Pam. Yeah, go on.
Clark, can I give my apologies for the whole of August? And if I can turn up, I'll turn up. But I'll give my apologies now, please.
Okay.
So isn't it in August?
Chair,
love?
Chair, can I just say, I can't remember you officially putting the resolution to reconvene.
I can't remember that either, Steve. Well spotted.
Yes. Didn't.
Oh, didn't I? Okay, then, well, we need to put that agenda there. I got waylaid then. So could we vote on to reconvene the adjourned annual meeting on September the 7th of September? All those in favour? Thank you all for that. Yes. Well spotted, Steve and Rebecca. Okay, then if that's the case, thank you all for your time today. And as I sort of said, it's lovely to see a meeting done in under an hour. And enjoy all your August, and I'm sure I'll see some of you around.
There will be 4 family fun days in August.
Yes.
I'd like to see you all at.
Absolutely.
This will mean there
Check
will
your
be
inboxes.
plenty going on, just not full council meetings.
Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you
Okay,
all.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.